Give me one, give me one. Woo!
Bryant for the win. Bang!
The Sting and everyone. Oh my, he's got it. Wow. Michigan at the 41. What a hit. Ball's free. On the ground. South Carolina deserves to have it. Seth Rollins just curb stomped Randy Orton. And with that curb stomp, the future is now.
Okay, guys, welcome to the 5-Star Podcast. I'm Nathan Little. We've got a special guest here.
Hey, I'm Shane Smith.
You've seen him before, but not in this element.
Yeah, taking a little trip out of the weather cave, coming over here and talking a little pro wrestling.
Absolutely. Shane is a big weather fan and a big wrestling fan. You might not get to see that on air, but me and Shane talk about some wrestling all the time, and we were excited about, because this was a big weekend.
This was a huge weekend for WWE. 3 sold-out events at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn. NXT TakeOver on Saturday, SummerSlam Sunday, Raw on Monday, and just a lot of things happening right now in the world of WWE, and some good things, some bad things, but overall, as a wrestling fan, this was a weekend you just had to enjoy.
Oh, no doubt. And it was a big weekend for me, because I told my wife on Sunday, I said, listen, honey, we're expecting a child, but please wait until SummerSlam is over. And I honestly could tell you that about 20, 30 minutes after it was over, water broke and we were gone. We were gone.
I was in my living room watching SummerSlam, just got done, was starting to watch the replay to make some notes for tonight's podcast, because we were going to do this on Monday.
Oh, yeah.
And then you text me and it's like, Tiff's water's broke, we're going, and you got Big Daddy Cool literally over there now.
Oh, it was rough, and that's why I've got the 5-day, haven't been to work in a while. The dad beard is what I'm referring to it as. But I rock it. You guys know it. You guys know it. But anyway, so the first event, you said 3 sold-out shows. First event was NXT TakeOver.
And it was, as a pure old-school wrestling fan, one of the best shows I've seen by far this year. It's in the top 2 to 3 shows of just a single wrestling show I've watched. Maybe WrestleMania, maybe Ultima Lucha top it, but that's been about it. It has been a just fantastic, just old-school wrestling show.
Well, for me, probably the top 2 or 3 shows, maybe NXT shows, NXT TakeOver shows. If you're not watching, man, it is just some good wrestling. It's an hour show on Wednesday, so they don't have a lot of time to really mess around and do the drawn-out promos and all this other stuff. So they don't have a lot of. They still need to build the storyline. So they still have to cut some of that, but they typically do a couple small matches, some build up, and then they have 1 or 2 really good matches every week.
What I really love about NXT is it reminds me of the old, like, late 80s, early 90s WCW shows. You get 1 hour, you get 3 or 4 matches, usually 1 or 2 of them are developmental or squash matches, but then you get some good storylines. They keep it really simple. You don't get all the long, drawn-out 15-minute promos that we just hate now. You actually see a lot of good action, and when it comes to these takeover specials, they just cut loose and let it go.
Oh yeah, and I watch it every week. I'm a big fan of that product, and this Saturday was no exception. It was just really good. I did not expect Blake and Murphy to drop the tag title.
That was a bit of a surprise. I thought they were going to keep it going. The Vaudevillains, they brought out to the biggest pop of the night before the main event, Blue Pants to even the odds, take care of Alexa Bliss, and sure enough, it worked. And you've got new NXT Tag Team Champions. I like the Vaudevillains. I think they've got a really interesting gimmick. I don't know how well it would get over on the main roster, but right now in NXT, I think it's going to be interesting to see how they do as champs. This will give Blake and Murphy. Mechanically, I think they're the best tag team right now in NXT. The thing I'd like to see from them is a little bit more development on the promo side and the personality side. If they can get that, they'd be a complete tag team, in my opinion.
See, and with the Vaudevillains, they're the talking, the theatrics. That's something they're really good at. That's something they're really good at. Enzo and Cass in that division, they're just over the top.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of their in-ring stuff. It's good. It's good. But they are more over than anyone on that. And I look forward to seeing where that tag division goes. I figured Joe would win his match, but I didn't expect him to just leave Baron Corbin unconscious.
Yeah, and that match went a little longer than I thought it was going to. We had not seen at this point Baron Corbin in a match that lasted more than 2 or 3 minutes yet on NXT. And him and Joe went a good 7-8 minutes. He held his own. He got some good offense in. Joe sold it like a champ. Joe made Corbin look like $1 million. And then Joe gets the pass-out win. So Corbin still looks strong. I think there's a lot of upside on this guy. I think he's still got a lot of work to do, but it's going to be really interesting to see how he develops.
Corbin, and don't kill me when I say this. Don't kill me when I say this. But Corbin reminds me of the Bill Goldberg type.
Yes,
because Corbin had the football background. You know, he's a big athlete. He's intimidating looking, but you can tell with these matches, it's baby steps with him. Like Goldberg, his first 80, 90 matches were spear, jackhammer, 3, it's over with. And that's kind of what they've been doing with Corbin. They mess around a little bit till he hits end of days, and then that's it. But Joe, and this is what they brought Joe in for moments like this, when you've got a guy, he's talented, he's got some potential, but you can take one of these veterans to come in and work with them. And that's what you get. Yeah,
and I think Corbin has a lot of upside. I think Joe, give him another 6 months in NXT and then shoot him up to the main roster. Maybe put him down in NXT every now and then to help get some guys some experience with a vet. But I think Joe is a great hand for WWE to have in any capacity. I think he could do well on NXT. I think he could do well on the main roster. And this was actually, I was reading, Joe's match in front of the biggest crowd in the U.S. at 15,000.
And that's hard to believe, as many shows as Joe has got, but you just don't get the crowds you do with WWE and NXT.
And that wasn't just a crowd of 15,000. That was a hot crowd of 15,000. That was almost the ECW arena times 15.
Oh, I went to an NXT house show when I was on vacation, and it is just the fans that come out to this, because they're pure wrestling fans. They're not there to see Cena cut a promo. You know, it's not the kids. It is a bunch of grown men acting like children. That's what it boils down to. But good to see that. And when they do call Joe up, they still got Rhino, who I don't see him calling him up.
No,
they could, and he could. You know, he can gore anybody. He's got that move is that over. But when it comes to developing talent, I think Rhino will be great down there, and who knows what they're going to do with Jushin Thunder Liger.
Oh, that was another match that really surprised me. Jushin Thunder Liger, folks, if you're not an old school wrestling fan, this was the guy that redefined the high-flying, hard-hitting style that came out of Japan, was really showcased heavily in WCW in the early 90s, was on the first match of Nitro with Brian Pillman, a classic match. He is the innovator of the Shooting Star Press, one of my favorite finishers of all time. The man is over, and he is a legend in the business, but just had his first match in a WWE ring in 2015 in New York, and against a guy who's extremely talented in Tyler Breeze.
Oh, yeah, and I think we knew Liger was going to win. You don't bring him in and have him lose his first match. But he showed that he could still go. And he's up there. He's up there, but he can still go.
And if you watch this match, there are little things that Liger does that will it just is super impressive. The mimicking of Tyler's moves, like jumping up there in the corner and posing. The thing with the selfie stick. Yeah. I mean, that's something only a veteran of the business would do. But, I mean, it was just hilarious how he was just basically mocking Tyler Breeze. But yet, Breeze gave him a really good match. Breeze got in some good offense. He used some innovative moves. And I think it was overall a really good way to start the show.
Really good. And I really want to see what they do with him. They've already got shirts for him. I don't know the details of his contract. But I hope I see them using him.
I could see him showing up at a few more of these NXT TakeOver style events.
Yep. But the big thing from those, the big 2 matches from those, and you said one of them was your match of the weekend.
Match of the weekend, and I think a match of the year contender. I don't know if it's match of the year, but it's got to at least be in the discussion. And that was Sasha Banks versus Bayley for the NXT Women's title.
Oh yeah, and that Bailey, if you watched the last podcast, you know that is my girl. I'm a big fan. Just of, it's really nice to see a diva with the positive. You know, she doesn't. You know, she's more family friendly than a lot of the other divas. She's she goes the inspirational route.
Very wholesome, very humble, very hardworking, and just an awesome worker in the ring. I mean, she took a beating from Sasha Banks, and this match, in my opinion, it's got to be in the discussion for match of the year. It had everything you want from a classic wrestling match. If you want to understand what makes people fans of pro wrestling, watch that match. Very simple. Good guy, bad guy, good guy trying to overcome adversity, and ends up pulling it out at the last second.
And she had to, in the build-up, she had to go through the two other divas out of the, you know, they've got the four horsemen, Bailey, Sasha, Charlotte, and Becky. And she had to beat Charlotte and Becky in succession, and then got the title shot and wins it. And then they had the nice moment at the end, all four
the
of them
curtain
in
call
the ring,
with the...
You know. I actually tweeted a picture of that out after the match, and they retweeted it. I tagged them in it, and they retweeted it, and my phone blew up for a solid 2 hours. Just people retweeting it, and my wife was like, "Turn that off. It's getting on my nerves."
And here's the thing you will see in that match that just it absolutely put it over the top with me. Something you very rarely see anymore is just a heel working an injury. Bailey had a hand injury, broken hand, 2 months she was on the shelf. Came back, still had the brace on, still had it wrapped up. Banks, in the middle of that match, throws her over the top rope, rips the brace off down at the ground, slams the hand against the ringside, throws her over near the stairs, smashes it against the stairs, puts it in the stairs, and then stomps it. I mean, that is classic heel action that you just do not see anymore, but it's so good for getting heat on that heel.
Oh yeah, it's great, and it's good to see a Divas match, or in NXT it's a women's match. But it's good to see that kind of ring psychology, because you don't see it as much anymore. Because a lot of these women's matches and Divas matches over the last few years, they've been get in, get out.
2-3 minute quick pinfall, get it over with.
But yet, and I always look forward to Bailey hitting that belly to belly off the turnbuckle.
And this tells you how good of a wrestler Bailey is. A simple move like a belly to belly suplex, she has put over as a legitimate finisher.
And give credit to Sasha for selling the other end of it, because it was. But that belly to belly, it looks like a finish. And
the setup to that finish involved a reverse Frankensteiner off the top rope. I thought Sasha Banks was dead after it, but good Lord. I mean, they just pulled out all the stops.
I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a reverse Frankensteiner. You know, and you know, off the top rope and then straight to the finish. That was big time. That was big time, and I can't agree with you when you say contender for match of the year. The last match, which to me was not as good as the one before it, but it was still, if you watched any Ring of Honor Kevin Steen stuff, you knew what he was capable of in ladder matches.
Yes.
So Kevin Owens, formerly Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens now, took on Finn Balor, and we knew that Balor was going to retain the title, and Kevin Owens is going to move on to the main roster full time, but they really put on a show.
And here's the thing: Owens had that match booked the next night against Cesaro. I was wondering going into that match, how much was he going to hold back? The answer was he didn't hold back, folks. He was taking bumps like a champ, falling from the top of the ladder onto the other ladder. I mean, that's a hard hit, and he took it like it was nothing.
He also did his cannonball move into a ladder when Balor moved out of the way once. And look, I know you guys, wrestling's fake, but fall on one of those ladders really hard.
The way I like to look at it, the outcome of a wrestling match is scripted. The physical action in the ring, there are certain things you can do to protect yourself. Falling on a ladder, you really cannot protect yourself much. I mean, it is going to hurt.
You can brace for it, but it's one of those things. You just have to. You brace, but you have to embrace. You have to embrace that pain and go through it. At Money in the Bank, Cena had a match with Kevin Owens, and I went to Money in the Bank too, and I went to that NXT show the night before, and Kevin Owens was in an absolute battle at the house show, and it was a three-way between him, Balor, and Samoa Joe, and they went forever. And then the next night he had a 4+ star match with Cena.
And that just shows you the worker that Kevin Owens is. And folks, mark my words, I think before the end of next year, he will hold the WWE World Heavyweight Championship.
Oh yeah, no, I would give it to him today, but I'm not the one. I'm not the one booking that. But the next night we had SummerSlam, one of the biggest pay-per-views of the year for WWE, and I thought, you know, I had a few matches I had reservations about, but all in all, I thought it was a solid show.
It was a solid show. Coming from a pure wrestling perspective, after watching NXT into watching SummerSlam, it was a little bit of a step down. But from an entertainment perspective, I think it delivered, and looking at it in its own bubble, I think it did well.
Oh yeah, I mean, and you see NXT, there wasn't a lot of big drawn out promos. There wasn't, you know, it was match, and you saw quality wrestling. With SummerSlam, you saw some really quality wrestling, spaced out a little more, but you saw the over the top entrances. You saw a lot of good stuff. A lot of people were expecting maybe a cash in from Sheamus. We didn't see that. We saw Sheamus go over clean
with 2 bro kicks. I mean, I gotta give it to him for booking it like that. Orton sold the bro kick. That is a good finisher. Taking it twice in quick succession, that's going to put anybody down. Yep. So I thought that made sense from that perspective.
I think it did too, and I predicted, I thought Sheamus would win. If Sheamus would have lost, I would have expected a cash in.
I would have too, because you would have had a similar situation to what you had with Rollins at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and I think, and the fact that it was that early in the night, it
left just enough doubt.
You had that, you know, just that pressure building. Is he going to do it? Is he going to do it? And you didn't see him again the rest of the night.
But the interesting thing was, and that made me think, okay, this is not going to happen, is the slot they chose to put Cena versus Rollins. That match started at 9 o'clock, and from everything I hear, that was to put it up against Fear the Walking Dead, which premiered to the highest cable-rated show premiering ever this weekend.
Oh, yeah. And they put our boy Owens and Cesaro late.
It was the match before Taker-Lesnar, which that's kind of an iffy spot to put a match, because usually the crowd by that point is wanting that main event match, but they held their own in that.
Yeah, I think you kind of felt it. You kind of felt that the crowd wanted the main event, but when those two guys going at it the way they were,
they got the crowd back on their side.
Cesaro is a guy that my man Jim Ross, I say my man, he's spoken to me. He's replied to me on Twitter twice, so I can call him my friend. I can call him my friend. But he says that Cesaro's a future champ.
I could see it. Cesaro, the main thing that is holding him back, it is not his ring work ethic. That guy is a machine. He's strong as nails. He's got a good look. If he can get just a little bit of promo skill under his belt and can just inch up over a little bit more, I think he's that close into hitting the main event scene.
And he's getting better.
And he is getting better.
He's getting better. They're letting him hit these little quick hitters. He's not had anything extended yet. They give Owens. They can give Owens 5 minutes, and he can captivate the crowd for 5 minutes. They can give Paul Heyman 30 minutes.
I would sit there and watch 3 hours and nothing but Paul Heyman cut a promo.
You know, but with Cesaro, they're giving him, you know, these quick hitters. You could tell that he's got planned what he's going to say, and eventually he's going to grow into that. But he's got that interesting style with all the uppercuts, and nobody else really does that.
Yeah, nobody else really does that. Also, the big swing. I mean, he's got the big swing back over. It's been ages since we've seen that move used effectively. And he's got a good submission finisher in his buddy Tyson Kidd sharpshooter. So, I mean, he's got the moves. He's got the agility. He's got the strength. He gets that promo skill, and I think the sky's the limit.
And he's over.
And he's over.
And I think what got him over was him and Tyson Kidd, because they put them in the tag division as heels, and then they turned them. They turned them to faces, and everybody ate it up. And then Kid got hurt. I was really looking forward to what they were going to do in that tag division, but I am not disappointed with what is happening right now.
You know, this could be the case of our generation's Shawn Michaels and Marty Jannetty. I mean, this could be the case where a tag team splits up and one of them becomes an absolute superstar.
That's definitely an option with Cesaro, and who knows what happens when Kid gets back, but it looks like that's a long way off.
Yeah, I mean, he's still got a lot of time on the shelf to recover.
But with the tag division as it was, the primetime players kind of stepped into that.
Yes.
Stepped into that position, and the New Day kept theirs. And, man, everything the New Day does,
it's gold.
I love.
It's gold.
Everything they do. And when they started as the good guys that were really positive and just came out and basically preached a sermon before every match, and they played odd man out to see who would wrestle. I really thought it stunk. But I think that's what WWE wanted to do. They wanted to get them to get on people's nerves, but get the little kids and the people that root for the good guys on their side, and then just slowly turn them. And I remember the night that I think it was Reigns and Orton, they had a handicap match with all three of them, and New Day beat them, and it was like the first match of the night. And they would periodically go back to them in the back, and they were celebrating 2 and 3 hours later. And it's hilarious.
Well, and the thing that absolutely sold me on the four-way was after Kofi picked up the win, that celebration. I mean, it was pure just joy in him, and they were so excited. And it made the tag titles feel like they meant something.
And the crowd, they were the bad guys, but a lot of times with a smarky crowd.
And we had a really smarky crowd.
A SummerSlam crowd, a WrestleMania crowd, a night after those events, or an NXT crowd. You can get that.
Yeah.
You can get the heels just going over, and the crowd was chanting when they typically chant "New Day sucks."
It was New Day rocks.
It was New Day rocks, and I was pleased with that. And then the next night on Raw, you see him kind of do the job a little bit to
the Dudleys out of nowhere. 3 weeks removed from TNA, Bubba Ray Dudley shows up, Devon shows up, and the tables come flying.
Absolutely. I'm interested to see what they do with them. I think you can probably put the belts on them eventually. I don't think they need to give them the belts right now.
What I see happening in this division here in the next few weeks, I think you get a feud between the Dudleys, New Day, and Primetime Players. I think there's either a triple threat match or just some kind of two of those teams meeting at Night of Champions. The third one interferes, and it builds towards something towards Survivor Series.
Or, dare I say, a tables, ladders, and chairs.
You know, how long has it been since we have seen a tag team TLC match in WWE involving the Dudleys? I mean, they were one of the 3 teams that put that match on the map and completely stole the show when you include the Hardys and then Edge and Christian. And speaking of Edge and Christian, we found out they're going to be a guest on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast on WWE Network coming up in September.
And that should be good. Always a big fan of that. But you've already got the Dudleys. You've got the 2 other major tag teams with the Primetime Players and New Day. I could see a TLC match working.
Yeah.
And if you're listening, WWE, book it, please.
That's money waiting to happen.
Because we all want to see. Don't even wait till tables and ladders and chairs. Don't wait till the TLC pay-per-view. Do it on Monday Night Raw next week. I don't care. But really excited to see where they go with that. My match of the weekend was Cena versus Rollins.
That was a fantastic match, and I will
with an iffy finish.
And that happened twice this weekend. We'll get to the bigger one here in a second.
Oh, it happened 3 times.
Oh, yeah.
But we're not even going to talk about
Rusev.
We're not talking about
We're not going there. But with Cena Rollins, that was a fantastic match. That, in my mind, is the match that cemented Seth Rollins as a main event player in WWE. He went all out on this match, even more so than their match on Raw, which I honestly thought they were going to have a hard time topping. because that match went from a good match to all of a sudden the nose break happens, and it just put that match on a different level.
Oh yeah, and I didn't like that they ended that match with the champ tapping in the middle of the ring.
Yes.
I didn't like that, but I do like with Rollins now. They have went from he's the heel that is just afraid to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's the heel that runs away and cheats all the time, and he still won dirty. He's Jon Stewart with the chair.
Yeah.
Comes in with the weakest chair shot in the history of professional wrestling, and he gets the pedigree and wins.
What was a really good match, what was an incredible back and forth, in my mind, was really diluted by that ending. If Jon Stewart had just come out there, ran towards Rollins, reared up, and then cut over to Cena and smacked him, that would have been fine. But the whole iffy kind of, oh, who am I going to hit?
Yeah, it ruins it.
It took all the value out of that chair shot. I do like the explanation they came out with on Raw the next night for why Stewart did it. It was to protect Flair's legacy. Flair comes out, and then Cena comes out looking a little bit like a heel after
With the AA
With
on
the
Stewart.
AA, I mean, it's you AA, a 55-year-old man, even though he hit you with a chair the night before. I mean, Cena's 100 pounds easier, bigger than this guy. Could break his neck if he wanted to.
Maybe we finally see the bad guy Cena. I don't think it happens.
After all the promotion with the 500 Make-A-Wish, with everything Cena has been through, at this point I think it's too late to turn him heel. Even if you turn him heel at this point, what good does it do him?
Unless you have someone else that can step up and take
And
take
I am
that.
not sure they are at that point yet. I think they could be in the next 6 months if they book things correctly, but right now they're not there.
Yep. Back to what I was saying about Rollins, though. He used to be the Flair type bad guy that just did just enough to win with a lot of help. Somebody sliding him some brass knuckles or whatever it took to win.
Grabbing the tights,
But
holding
now
the rope.
he is challenging Cena. He wants Cena. He wants Brock Lesnar, and he goes out and he does these big time matches. And really, say what you want, but he carried that whole match.
And there is a move. He used this move in the first match they had, and I don't think it got quite the attention it deserved because of Cena's broken nose. But that going from the superplex into the Falcon Arrow, goodness! I mean, in any other federation, that's the end of a match. I mean, that is just ridiculous.
In any other match on that card, that's a finish.
Yeah.
But Cena kicks out at Cena kicks out at 2. We all know that. Cena kicks out at 2. I'm really excited to see, after, speaking of Rollins challenging people, Rollins openly said he wanted Sting after Raw on Monday night.
Yeah,
and where do they go with that?
Yeah, for those that didn't see Raw, they were going to do the big statue reveal, because
he got promised if he won, he gets a statue.
And he was walking out with both belts, much like the Ultimate Warrior and Bill Goldberg, holding both the big straps in one company. And then all of a sudden they raise the curtain on that statue, and the icon is standing there and goes to town.
I was expecting Cena.
Yeah.
I was expecting Cena to be on those.
Especially after he got kicked out of the building.
I thought it was John Cena, and I thought we were going to see, a rematch. What happens next? But Sting, and now we're going to have a match at Night of Champions. I don't know what they're going to do with that.
And then comes into the question, what happens to the U.S. title? Because Rollins has 2 belts right now, and when Night of Champions, every belt gets defended. Is it going to be for both the U.S. and the world title? Is it just the world title? Does somebody win the U.S. title off Rollins between now and then? What's going to happen to what right now is the second biggest title in the company?
You could see maybe winner of that match wins the world title, loser gets the U.S. title. But will Vince put a belt on Sting?
I don't. Is this Sting's receipt for losing and having to do the handshake at WrestleMania? Is this the payback? Is this, hey, I did this favor, now you scratch my back? Is this what happens? I don't know. And there's also the speculation, what happens if this turns into a triple threat 2-fall match? First fall for the U.S. title, second fall for the world title. I mean, that's a possibility. I mean, there is a lot of questions about what goes forward in the Night of Champions. And for once we don't know, and I think that's a good thing, it's a chance to do something unexpected, but it's a chance they don't need to squander because they have some other things going on that aren't so great right now.
And speaking of that,
Yeah.
the Divas Revolution has really devolved.
I was very, very excited about the Divas Revolution when everything started. I'm a huge fan of Becky Lynch. I'm a huge fan of Charlotte. And I'm a huge fan of Sasha Banks. I think that they're three of the best workers in women's wrestling right now. Those ladies can go at a level that we have never seen in WWE, maybe even better than Trish and Lita in some regards. I know some people will call that blasphemy, but I think they are in a league of their own. But right now they are being squandered, and this whole thing is losing steam fast because there is no clear direction in how it's heading. There's no clear character development, and there has not been a real emphasis on the individual personalities these women bring to the ring and the movesets and the abilities that they have to tell a story in the ring.
Oh, yeah, and I think throwing all these 6-way, 9-way tag matches at it, it makes it really hard for any one girl to shine. When I see, and I'm a big Flair mark, so understand, but I see Charlotte doing things that no girl, no woman has ever done in a WWE ring. And even when her and Sasha had their matches, I can remember Sasha hitting the bank statement on Charlotte, but Charlotte would sell it and she would wrench that back. And she's so tall, it just makes things look so much bigger.
And that figure 8, that bridging figure 4, it's an effective submission. I mean, it looks really, really painful.
And something, we're going to go back here, I forgot to mention this. What about Cena hitting Rollins
with the figure 4 in the middle of the ring? I was like, oh no, they are not going to end this match.
I was watching it with my wife, and I said, this better not happen. He's gonna win it with. Oh my goodness, no. Okay, we're good.
Yeah.
Okay, we're good. Sorry, I had to mention that.
Yeah, that was a great spot.
That was amazing. But back to the Divas. We talked a little bit a few days ago that it's just you've got these top quality girls, and it looks like you got 4 of them, and then the rest with the 3 girls from NXT, I think, are on the 3 recent call-ups. Charlotte, Becky, and Sasha are just head and shoulders
above the rest.
Paige can go with them. And Paige is an NXT call-up, too. She was an NXT champ.
And here's the thing. Paige is a 10-year vet of the business, and she's only 23.
I mean, her family owns a wrestling promotion. She's been through it. She used to work matches with her mom. So Paige can go. Paige can go, and I think she can go with them. But I think we're having a hard time getting them over because it's been the Bellas for so long.
I think the biggest thing holding the division back right now is I think for whatever reason they want Nikki to beat AJ's streak as the Divas champion.
And I think that's going to be a big talking point and a big storyline coming up in the days to come. I think she gets close to it.
Yeah.
And then somebody takes it.
And I hope that's what happened, but I hope there is some building towards that, and it's going to have to happen in a hurry because that match and that whole segment on Miz TV on Monday night could have completely derailed this whole thing. They lost the crowd. That is the most a crowd has been out of a match since Sheamus Orton right after, what was it, WrestleMania 30. I mean, the crowd just completely destroyed them that night. I think it was the Izod Raw. We all remember that one.
Yep.
And, like, I have not seen a wrestling match in WWE lose the crowd that bad since then, but it was bad. They need to do some quick changes. There needs to be some emphasis on individual characters. I think these factions, besides the Bellas, need to break up. I think this whole revolution now, they've talked about it's how it's a revolution. Stop talking about it. Show us. Show why these women are here. Show what they want. Make it about the title. show the fight to the title. If that means having a tournament to get to the title, I think that's one way to do it. If that means the faction's imploding and everyone starts fighting and you finally get a #1 contender and have it go up at Night of Champions, but something in the next few weeks needs to happen or this thing is dead in the water.
I mean, and you've got 9 girls, and they typically, in the past, have only got one match a Raw, one match a night. Now you can see them get 2 matches, but you really have to pick who you want and what spot you need to put them there, and you need to go for it.
If you'll allow me to fantasy book this just for a second.
Go for it.
What I would do starting next week on Raw, announce a 8-woman tournament leading up to Night of Champions. Spread it out between Raw and SmackDown over the next couple of weeks leading up to Night of Champions. I would have 2 members of Bad face each other. I'd have 2 members of PCB face each other in the preliminary round to go ahead and just get those factions split. I would end up building into the semifinals this final match for who faces Nikki Bella, Charlotte versus Sasha Banks. I think that's your money match leading into it. I think you have Charlotte go over or Sasha go over, either one, and have them take the title off Nikki and then run from there and start letting the Bellas kind of slip more into the managerial role, the valet role, get them out of the ring. I don't think they can quite go to the same level as these girls. Find them a place on the card that works for them and let this talent really shine. And
I think Sasha is the most over right now. Sasha is the most over right now. Charlotte, her time as NXT champ was actually before Sasha's.
Right.
Sasha took the title away from Charlotte. So I think it's those two. I think it's those two. Becky's a good worker. I think she can make any match entertaining, but I still think she needs some time.
I think she needs some time. I think you have a potential Royal Rumble match involving her. If you build her up over the next few months, that could be a big payoff. But right now, I think your go-tos are Charlotte or Sasha, and then after one of them get them, you put them into a program with Paige and carry that through the end of the year.
And I think some good fantasy booking. We'll see where it goes. The bottom line is the Bella era is slowly,
not over yet.
It's slowly coming to an end, but they just need to figure out who's going to be the #1 girl going forward. They need to put the strap on her and see where that goes. Should be some good stuff, but overall it was a great weekend of wrestling and a great Monday night. My baby girl and I sat and watched Raw. She got to see Sting for the first time.
You're starting them early, and then everything for this weekend culminated around one match. There was one thing that really hyped this weekend that we have not talked about yet. Taker, Lesnar, Part 2.
And I know they built this match wonderfully. I know when Brock lost the title basically because Taker showed up and interfered in his match. The next night on Raw, when they had to pull them apart, they had the entire roster out.
They had me sold at that moment.
I was ready to go when Brock screams at him from across the way, "I'm going to kill you," and Taker screams back,
"You're going to have to."
You know, it was gold, and from that point forward, I was ready for the match, but I was worried because the first match was not good.
And the first match was not good. A lot of concerns about Taker's ability to go and work a match after that. He put everything to rest. He put on a really exceptional match, very solid. He took some hard bumps, went through the announce table, the French announce table. Is this the first time the French announce table has been destroyed?
Oh, I don't know. It's they didn't have it for a long time, but it used to get destroyed all the time.
But it used to be the old Spanish announce table would get.
But it's really Undertaker's last 2 matches. The one with Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania and the one with Brock at the prior WrestleMania.
They weren't quality Taker matches.
I thought that he was done, and I didn't think that he could get it done in the ring. But he did, and I was joking with our friend Anthony during SummerSlam. I said, "There's no way Taker goes to Suplex City tonight." because I didn't think he could take that many suplexes.
And he went.
But he took several German suplexes.
There were several exits on the interstate through Suplex City.
And he took every one of them. He took every one of them. Anthony got me on this one because we did our predictions, and he was up 1 on me going into this match, and I could have tied it because the way they've booked Brock, I knew that Brock had to protect him because you destroy that going forward because you only bring him in every few months, and if he comes back after a loss, I thought it looked bad. But the way they did it, I was wrong on calling the finish, but they did protect him, and that's what happened.
I think a lot of us expected a dusty finish going into this. You just kind of thought, okay, this is something odd is going to happen. At the time, I was not really happy with how everything played out. But in the end, I think it did the job of protecting Brock. I think it could have been a little bit clearer, and it does set out the rematch. The question is, do we want to see Taker Brock 3 at WrestleMania? Do we want to see it before then? Do we even want to see this match?
Who knows? I think the match has to happen at this point.
Yeah.
I think the match has to happen at this point. Some people will disagree with me. I know Anthony said that he thinks Taker gets his win and it's over with. But with the controversy that surrounded that, and I don't know if we mentioned the finish or not yet, but basically, referee Charles Robinson, Little Nate, he was watching.
Brock had his shoulders
down in the Kimura lock, so he gets down to count his shoulders.
Yeah, he was going to count the pinfall.
And on the other side of him, out of his line of view, Taker taps. Taker taps. The bell rings. Robinson says, "I was counting the pin. I didn't call for the match." And he's telling them that the match isn't over. And while they've got their backs turned, Taker hits the low blow.
Taker just busting out the heel move. I mean, we haven't. When was the last time we've seen a blatant low blow while the ref had his back turned? It's been ages.
It was rough, but he turns over. He gets him in the Hell's Gate submission.
Yeah, the triangle choke, and then
then Brock also. They kind of protect him because he doesn't tap. He
passes out while giving the Stone Cold salute.
He gives the Stone Cold salute and passes out. So he still looked strong, and then Undertaker walks to the back and then
apparently collapses after getting back to Gorilla.
Which I saw the video of that. It looks like he could have been selling.
Yeah.
He could have been selling, but I don't know. And the beauty of wrestling, we'll never know.
Yeah.
We'll never know if he was trying to sell or that was just the way it was. So, but
he did. I did see the video you were talking about. He did get right back up afterwards. I mean, he got out of the arena on his own power.
So we'll see what happens. But then immediately Paul Heyman grabs the mic, declares Brock Lesnar the winner, and comes back the next night on Raw, challenges Undertaker to a match. But we all know that wasn't happening.
Yeah.
Undertaker's not going to wrestle on Raw. Guys.
Bo Dallas had an unfortunate trip through Suplex City,
which but it's another thing to see where it goes from there.
Yeah.
It's another thing to see where it goes from there, and I'm looking forward to it, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I am too. Night of Champions coming up now in about 3.5 weeks, and there's a lot of questions about what's going to happen with the world title, what's going to happen with the U.S. title. The tag team scene just suddenly, if I can borrow old JR's phrase, business just picked up with the Dudleys coming back. I think the one area that WWE really needs to work on, there's two leading into this. Intercontinental title, that picture is kind of squiffy right now, and they need to get this Divas division straightened back out and back on the right track leading into Night of Champions.
It'll be interesting. Surely we'll talk about all this in the weeks to come. But right now, my man, while I was tending to my new daughter earlier in the week, I had to send our man Anthony to interview Lex Luger and Nikita Koloff. And I've not seen I don't know what they said yet. So
I'm looking forward to it.
I'm looking forward to it, and that is next, guys. Thanks for listening.
Welcome to the 5-Star Podcast. We are on the road this week at Grace Christian Fellowship here in Williamsburg, Kentucky, for the main event Monday, which will feature Lex Luger and Nikita Koloff. My name is Anthony Bersaya, and I'm joined here by WCW, NWA, and WWE legend superstar, Mr. Lex Luger. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thrilled to be here,
Thank
Anthony.
you for taking the time to be here with us.
My pleasure.
We appreciate you coming. So, everyone knows you as a big wrestling star. So you were trained by Hiro Matsuda. Talk about being trained by Mr. Matsuda.
I was. He was old school. I think the thing I loved about him best, I'm so thankful for him as my mentor and first coach, but he did everything he asked you to do. He'd warm you up in the heat and humidity in the summer in Florida with a 5-mile run.
Wow.
That was your warm-up before we got to the workout. That gives you any clue. But he did everything he asked you to. He led by example, which I'll never forget. Outstanding guy. Yeah.
So you got trained by him, and then you made the jump to NWA and became a horseman. Is that correct?
I did. I had no idea about how big that was. One of the all-time heel groups ever. We had our manager was J.J. Dillon, and we had our world champion in the group was Nature Boy Ric Flair.
Woo!
There we go. Always, when we say his name, everybody's got to give a woo.
Definitely.
And we had Arn Anderson and Tully Blanchard, who were incredible wrestlers. They were the World Tag Team Champions, and once I became a horseman, I won the United States USA Championship. So we had all the belts, and we talked trash, and we were the bad guys people loved to hate.
And
a lot of fun.
Later on, you became the heel champion in WCW, and was that easy for you to be a heel? You were with the Horsemen. Did that just make it easier later on? Did you enjoy playing a heel?
I did, and it was more my natural inclination back then. And it's simpler psychology-wise to get people to do things that make people dislike you than it is to win people over and have them like you. So it's much simpler, and you do some more outrageous things, which I enjoyed doing back then to get people not to like you. So I really did enjoy being a heel champion.
Now, you definitely lived up to your name, the total package, with your physique and your body, how you had it back in the day. I know you were going to try the WBF for a little bit, but we know that kind of how that went and everything. But you jumped to the WWF, started off as being managed by Bobby Heenan, the narcissist, but then you kind of just became Lex Luger, the face, the baby face of the company. And '93, you had that great feud with Yokozuna at SummerSlam, carried on in the Survivor Series. But then we go to Royal Rumble '94, and you're with Bret the Hitman Hart. You do the amazing, both of you win the Rumble, land at the same time. But there's kind of been a rumor throughout the years, Lex, about you winning the WWF title at WrestleMania 10, about you bragging about it to some of your friends that were visiting, and it got out and Vince McMahon heard it, and he made the decision to not give you the championship belt because you were bragging about it. Is that a myth, a legend, or is that actual truth, or is it false?
It's actually false. But there's so many rumors that were true about me back then that I used to, in amusement, an amazement as well that came out. It was in my, show up my Wikipedia. I go, boy, all the stuff I've done. I go, did they have to add anything in? But that particular one was actually, the one time my whole family, my wife, my daughter, my son came to a pay-per-view was that one, and I was actually in Connecticut staying with friends of the family. So I wasn't anywhere near that particular time a bar or trash talking about winning a title. But hey, when you live the lifestyle I lived back then, those things can definitely take a life of their own.
And then you continued in the WWF up until most of '95, and then what everyone knows you for, that kind of, as people say, that started the whole war when you showed up on Nitro in 1995. Were you a little nervous doing that, or were you totally peace with that when you just showed up on Nitro after having been in the WWF the night before?
I wasn't nervous. I think excited would be a more appropriate term. It was, they brought me in the back. No one knew I was there with a towel over my head and kept me away from even all the wrestlers until right before I went out. So it was a huge surprise, and it was very exciting.
Did Sting have any influence getting you there to Nitro on that night?
Oh, huge, yeah. He's been a huge influence in my life all the way through.
And of course, we know about the NWO and all of those things, but one of the biggest moments that I remember from the whole WCW, NWO, I think it's one of the most historical moments during the whole Monday Night Wars, was the night on Nitro in 1997 when you put Hulk Hogan in the torture rack and he submitted to the torture rack. I believe Randy Travis was the ref, and he was in shock as he was ringing the bell. I remember him doing that. And then you won the belt. I remember you and the Giant and all the other WCW wrestlers getting that NWO off the WCW belt. Talk about what it meant to make Hogan tap that night and being, I believe, the first person ever to do that. Am I correct?
You are correct. He never lost on national television. He never submitted ever in a wrestling ring. They didn't tell me till right before I walked out there because they didn't want to get out beforehand. And the crowd was electric. It was an incredible moment. We had a blast celebrating in the back, and it was a great moment in my career, definitely.
I remember in high school, I popped hard because I wanted you to win, or marked out hard. I wanted you to win that, and it was one of my greatest wrestling moments ever, just watching it on TV.
Well, thank you.
And was very proud of you that night, by the way.
Thank you. It was so surprising. The crowd actually paused for a moment. They couldn't believe it. And then it was like a delayed pop. And then it was enormous. It was spectacular.
When you got to the back, I do want to ask one further question. Did you think you were going to get to keep the belt long? Because later on you lost it.
No,
Wild.
I knew exactly when I was going to put it back on him.
Oh, okay.
A week later. I know 6 days later. I think it was one of the shortest lived, but it was great. I'll take it.
And then, so you've had a great career. And, of course, later on you had the Wolfpack and all of that, and then you stayed with WCW, I believe, until it closed. Were you still on the contract?
Yes. Yeah.
And now, so many things have happened in your life. You're now a Christian. You're doing a ministry. And talk a little bit about that and the reason why you're coming here to Williamsburg tonight.
Well, we're coming to Williamsburg here tonight because a good friend of ours, Aaron, invited Mr. Nikita. We've been reunited after almost 15 years apart. During our careers, he retired and came on, and Nikita has evangelized the last 20 years all over the world. When I became born again, by God's grace and mercy, on April 23rd of 2006, we were reunited, and we're here tonight to share the gospel, thanks to Pastor Gerald opening his church up to us. We're having a Monday night we're looking forward to. We're going to have a great time here tonight, sharing the good news, the gospel.
Give me your favorite moment in professional wrestling. What was your favorite moment if you had to say that you had one?
Oh, wow, there's been so many moments that were tremendous, but I think we went over the highlights, the Four Horsemen days, the Lex Express, and then the Slam heard around the world on the USS Intrepid. That was a big moment, and the world title ring with Hogan. Those are probably three of the top ones for sure. You picked them well.
Well, Lex, thank you for your time.
Thank you, Anthony.
To talk to you, and may
Pleasure.
the Lord continue to bless you in your ministry.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Welcome back to the 5-Star Podcast. I am Anthony Versailles, and I'm here with the Russian Nightmare, Nikita Koloff. How you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great, thank you. Good to be here.
Welcome. Glad to have you here as well. Talk about your start in the professional wrestling business. If it's my understanding is correct, maybe Road Warrior Animal had a little bit of influence in that?
Well, he made the proverbial phone call to me one morning and inquiring was I interested in becoming a professional wrestler, and I was passionate about football, training for a pro football tryout when he made that phone call that morning. And it's an interesting story, a very unique story. Certainly not enough time to go into it today, but I called the promoter in Charlotte, North Carolina, Jim Crockett, had a 5-minute conversation on the phone with him, sight unseen, and made sure he understood I'd never been to the ring, never been in a professional ring, never had any professional training, never had an amateur background in wrestling, made sure he understood that. And he gave me a date to show up in his office, and I did, and really the rest is kind of history. Put me on the television that day, and the next night wrestled in Raleigh, North Carolina, in front of a sold-out crowd on television, having never been in a professional ring before in my life. Pretty crazy.
What are some of your memories winning the Crockett Cup with the late American Dream, Dusty Rhodes?
I tell you, a lot of fond memories from the wrestling business that catapulted my career, starting with that night in Raleigh. I mean, many wonderful memories. When we formed the Superpowers, when I saw the light, you might say, and went from being a bad guy to a good guy, and in Charlotte, North Carolina, we were in that cage match that night with and that was really an amazing experience for me to go from being at the time voted the #1 most hated guy in wrestling to becoming one of the fan favorites. There were many fan favorites And then to partner with Dusty was just really the ice on the cake. You might say the cherry on top. Incredible memories with Dusty, just phenomenal memories.
How was your relationship with him, even outside of the business?
You know, a lot of guys, I hesitate when I say a lot of guys, he wasn't a real favorite with a lot of guys outside of the squared circle for a variety of reasons. But I, for one, I really just took a liking to Dusty and really just loved him for who he was. I think I gained a real respect from him and for him, and the feeling was mutual. And so I feel like we had just a great relationship outside of the ring, and it was certainly heartbreaking to hear his passing. But everyone has an appointed day of death, right? So. Right.
And then you want to tag a belt that really isn't around these days, and it's called from what I remember, is the 6-man tag belts. Talk about the 6-man tag belts, and should they be around today?
Well, you know, the Russians set out to dominate the whole world of wrestling, right? From the creation of 6-man world tag team to the world tag team, to the heavyweight, championship, to the U.S. championship, to the world television championship. We tried to dominate it all. So it was fun. We threw a little twist in there where Crusher Khrushchev, Uncle Ivan, and I were able to interchange who would actually defend the world tag titles, and we had that right because we were the world 6-man champions. So I thought it brought a little interesting dynamic to the whole picture, and it would probably be fun for the fans to see something like that again.
And you won the U.S. title, and you briefly mentioned that. Was that your first singles run with the belt?
Yeah, I believe it was. Trying to rack my brain back to the many memories, and it's interesting. One of the interesting things is, and my peak performance partner will correct me if I'm wrong, but he and I think are number 1 and 2 as the longest reigning U.S. champions ever, or at least rank right up there to ever have held that title. And of course, in Greensboro is where he and I had the classic match, and where he won the U.S. belt, so in Greensboro, North Carolina.
You mentioned Greensboro. I remember Crockett Jr. saying once in a DVD documentary that wrestling shut down Greensboro once. Can you remember those days when wrestling would shut down the interstate?
Oh, it was, Greensboro was a historic town. I mean, it was the birthplace of Starrcade. There were many, many epic events that took place in Greensboro. And yeah, if there was a Google Maps or something back at that time, the interstates and all the roadways leading into the Coliseum would have been lit up red. There's no doubt. There were many times that the interstate was to a halt because of the wrestling. Pretty unique.
That's amazing. And then, of course, you spent a little bit of time away from WCW. You came back, and for our viewers at home, some of you may remember this, some of you may not. But it was 1992. I remember when World Championship Wrestling came to Hazard, Kentucky.
Okay.
It was supposed to be Sting versus Big Van Vader in the main event, but Sting couldn't make it, and they had a man by the name of Nikita Koloff take Sting's place. I was in 4th grade at the time.
Wow.
You all were the main event, and I still remember to this day you giving Vader the big power slam and the whole ring shaking. I thought it was going to break. Did you have a feud with Vader?
We did have a feud, and no easy task, by the way. The man was 500 plus pounds, and so no easy task to say the least. But Big Van Vader, yeah, we had some. He was a brawler. He was his style was a bit. I'm trying to search my brain for the right word. Well, stiff would be an understatement. I was stiff. That would be an understatement for him. He was a bit, but we had some great matches with each other. In fact, my very last match ever in professional wrestling was in Winston-Salem against Big Van Vader, and sustained 2 injuries that night. A hernia, as I said, 500 plus pounds, so a hernia picking him up. And then an injury to my neck for when he clotheslined me to the back of the head, and sustained a neck injury from the match that night.
Now, you retired, if I believe correct, from the wrestling business in the early 90s, is that correct?
That match was in November 7th, 1992. That was my final match.
And since then, you've kind of done some ministry. I believe you have done the, it's a ministry that you had the day called, if I'm mistaken, or if I'm correct, the UWA. Do you still do a ministry with that? It's kind of a
Koloff for Christ is the banner under which I have operated ministry for years. UWA, a play on one of the belts that we utilized over the years, one of the World Television title belts. We'll do wrestling type outreaches, not as a focus, but when a community is interested in bringing that in, you know, we just kind of have some fun with that. But Koloff for Christ was really the meat and potatoes of ministry that I've done over the years.
And I'm sure, is it great for you to get to go out there and share your faith and testimony with fans and wrestlers alike that you've worked with before?
Oh gosh, it's been one of the most rewarding things that, well, the absolute most rewarding thing I've ever done is the privilege of being able to share the gospel, the privilege of being able to open up the Word of God, the privilege of being able to witness people's life transformation when they come to an altar, whether it be a wrestling ring or what we'll do this evening in Williamsburg. I mean, it's an incredible honor and a privilege to be able to do that.
Do you have a favorite moment when in the professional wrestling business?
You know, again, a lot of fond memories. I guess I'd probably have, if I had to pinpoint one, you know, I'm 13 months now into this career of professional wrestling. Still don't really even have a clue what I'm doing, but I'm wrestling for the very first ever Great American Bash in Charlotte, North Carolina, in front of 30-something thousand people against the world heavyweight champion, Nature Boy Ric Flair. And of course the billing was, we're the six-man world champions, we're the tag team world champions, Nikita's going to take the gold from Flair and we're all going to go back to Moscow and celebrate, you know. I'd probably have to pinpoint that one match. There's so many, but that would be one.
Nikita, thank you for your time today. Really appreciate it.
You know what? It's just an honor to be here. Looking forward to tag teaming outside of the squared circle with the total package here in Williamsburg, and really be able to bring whatever the Lord lays upon our heart, and hopefully minister to men, women, and children alike this evening, and just see what God does. Show up and show off.